think they're positioning themselves for longer term growth. So they talked a lot about innovation in the Air franchise that they have and really expanding that to other sneaker silhouettes. And we think that will position them for longer term growth. But definitely there is a softer start to the year. The first half of fiscal 2025 will be challenging. The light at the end of the tunnel is that 2H25 will be better and we'll end the year on a positive note based on their expectations. And I think the real key here is to focus on the product innovation that they're going to bring forward over the coming 12 to 18 months to really see if Nike can continue its journey to maintain its brand lead. It is a $50 billion company, Paul. So when, folks talk about On and Hoka, when you look at the size of the two versus what Nike has, they're still very, very, very small in comparison.
Poonam, I look at Nike and the one of the other stocks you're watching, Lululemon today. Really, the big decliners in the S&P 500. And I wonder if there's any sort of broader takeaway, sort of a macro takeaway to be had here about the health of the consumer, or is this very much, sort of just brand specific issues for these two, or is there sort of a return to office story still at play with these two brands at all?
I think it's a combination of a multitude of things. So I think the first is that, yes, there is a consumer pullback that's happening. We heard that from Adidas and Puma too with their softer guidance. So that's not necessarily a big surprise that the consumer is pulling back on discretionary spend. And we saw that with better numbers at Walmart and Amazon, where you kind of push for value a little more. On the other hand, you do have to worry about the product because the one thing that Lululemon said that was interesting is yes, traffic was down at stores, but conversion was also weaker. And that means that there's something happening with the product. And they did talk about the need to really up their product cycle and replenish to have inventory in stock because they did see some weakness from that. So I think it's a culmination of a pullback in the consumer, the product, and also that the athleisure market, I think, is still strong. I think there's still potential there globally. I do think coming off from the pandemic that you will have some normalization of a wardrobe where it's going to be more balanced today than it was, let's say, 2 or 3 years ago, where it was probably 80% athleisure, 20% work life. Today, it's probably leaning back to 50-50.
So you'll be relieved to know that I am not a Lululemon customer. But talk to me about like fashion. Is it, I mean, it's all a similar type of fabric and fit. So is it just colors and patterns and things like that? How do you change that up? Because I know getting the fashion right is so important, for the companies that you follow.
Actually, Paul, for Lululemon, yes, it's about getting the color and fashion right, but it's also about the fit and the fabric. Their Align pants, which are their best sellers, the biggest sell on that is the way that they fit you. They make you look good. And every woman wants to look good. So that's the differentiator between a Lululemon yoga pant and let's say a Nike yoga pant. There is a difference in the quality of the pant that you're wearing and the fit that it has.
Don't kid anyone. Paul's wearing yoga pants right now.
Yeah.
Actually, they're dress pants. They have some pretty good. Lululemon has
Do they?
nice men's dress pants. Yeah, I've got a couple pairs of those.
Look at that.
Yeah. Put them back to Nike. One headline I saw that kind of shocked me is that Nike was able to get the sponsorship of the German national soccer team, taking it away
Adidas?
from Adidas.
You
Yeah,
can't do that.
which is pretty. Yeah, it's pretty. Shocking for a soccer fan. I mean, you grow up watching Adidas on the shirts of basically every team. But how big of a deal is that as far as that global soccer market for Nike and sort of this rivalry with Adidas and that sponsorship?
Yeah, look, I think it's a big win for Nike because Adidas is a German brand and has held that sponsorship for, I believe, over 75 years. So to lose that to Nike is a big deal. And it puts Nike on a stronger foothold across the globe in the field of soccer. So we do think that this is a big win for them, but make no mistake, they paid a premium for this. So it wasn't something that they took away at a steal. They definitely paid up for it.
So I did just watch or recently watched the movie The Jordan, and kind of the story about how he got and the relationship with Nike and kind of how that all plays out. But now the dollars are just so much bigger. So, Poonam, as you look across the Poonams, I mean the Nikes of the world and the Adidas and the Pumas and things like that, is that still a huge part of their marketing strategy? Is to align themselves with teams, with individual players? Is that still as big as it always has been?
It is as big as it's always been, but now it's harder to come up in that playing field with some of the major players unless you have deep pockets. So really only Nike and Adidas can afford to spend the money that they're spending to win these leagues and their players. These smaller companies like Puma you mentioned and Under Armour, they're making a bet on rookies. So you saw the success that Under Armour has had with the Curry franchise, and that bet was made a long time ago. You're not going to see these smaller brands chase after the established bigger players and the bigger teams because they don't have the pockets for it. And that's where Adidas and Nike win. And that's what makes them really keep their number one and number two positions in the global sportswear industry.